The Betrayal of Silence. Elena and David had been married for nearly 8 years. To the world around them, they seemed like the perfect couple. He was a respected architect with a calm and steady presence, and she was a teacher who carried herself with warmth and grace. They lived in a modest but beautiful home, filled with photographs from their travels, small souvenirs, and the quiet comfort of a life built together. But what people didn't see were the fractures that had started to grow between them. David often worked long nights at his firm, his thoughts consumed by deadlines and projects. Elena, though supportive, felt the emptiness of evenings spent alone, her laughter echoing in a house that seemed quieter every year. It was during one of these quiet stretches that Alex entered more prominently into her life. He had been David's closest friend since college, the kind of friend who was practically family. Alex visited often, sometimes to watch a game, sometimes to share a drink, and sometimes just to talk. He was charming, carefree, and always attentive in a way that David no longer seemed to be. At first, Elena brushed off the feelings that sparked when Alex complimented her, or when their eyes lingered too long during conversations. She told herself it was harmless, but Alex noticed her loneliness, and unlike David, he addressed it. One evening, after David had left for yet another business trip, Alex stopped by. They shared a glass of wine in the kitchen, laughter filling the room as though it had been starved of joy. Elena felt seen in a way she hadn't in years. When Alex's hand brushed against hers, she didn't pull away. The silence that followed was thick, trembling with unspoken desire, and when they kissed, it was both inevitable and unforgivable. What began as a single moment of weakness stretched into weeks of stolen afternoons and secret messages. Elena lived in two worlds, one where she was the loyal wife, and one where she surrendered to passion and the dangerous thrill of secrecy. But secrets have a way of surfacing. David noticed the changes, the distracted smiles, the way Elena's phone never left her side, the evasiveness in her eyes when he asked simple questions. He wanted to believe it was stress, or maybe his own fault for being so consumed by work. Still, the suspicion gnawed at him. The truth finally came on a stormy night when David returned home earlier than expected from a canceled meeting. He found Alex's jacket draped over the chair in the living room. The air was heavy, the silence louder than any thunder outside. And then he saw them, Elena and Alex, startled, standing too close, guilt written across their faces like an undeniable confession. The betrayal cut deeper than words could capture. For David, it wasn't just the loss of trust in his wife, but the shattering of brotherhood with his closest friend. For Elena, it was the devastating realization of what she had risked, the man who had once been her anchor, the life they had built together. The fallout was quiet but devastating. David walked out that night, leaving the house with nothing but a heavy silence. Elena cried into the emptiness, knowing that no amount of regret could undo what she had done. Alex, ashamed and restless, distanced himself soon after. Whatever fire had burned between him and Elena couldn't survive the wreckage it had caused. In the end, Elena was left alone in the house that once held love, now echoing with ghosts of laughter, trust, and everything she had destroyed. After David walked out that stormy night, he never returned. The silence that fell over Elena's home was heavier than any argument, more final than any slammed door. He moved into a small apartment across town, speaking only through a lawyer when it came time to discuss separation. Alex vanished too. Whatever bond he and Elena thought they had was crushed beneath the weight of betrayal. He couldn't face David again, and he couldn't live with the guilt of what he had done to his friend. Within weeks, he stopped answering Elena's calls, his presence fading like a ghost. Elena was left alone in the ruins. Days blurred into nights. The once warm home became a museum of memories, framed photographs of vacations, anniversary gifts, and the life she had shattered with a single choice. At school, colleagues noticed her fading smile. She taught her lessons, but her heart wasn't there. At the market, neighbors whispered. Rumors had spread faster than she imagined, and she carried the weight of judgment everywhere she went. David finalized the divorce quietly, without confrontation. When Eleanor received the papers, her hands trembled. It was over. The man who once held her through storms now regarded her only as a closed chapter, someone he used to know. Years later, Elena would still find herself tracing the outlines of their old photographs, wondering how things could have been different if she had just